So off we go. So welcome, Stephen, to our little show.
We're doing well, technology-wise.
And today, well, Joanna's not. Today we thought it'd be a good idea to talk about voice. And apparently you have a little story to tell.
Well, my wife loves it. Watches every series.
Does she?
Well, yes, she does. She's a shocker. No, voice and voice care.
Oh, hello.
Yes. Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We've got a special guest today, Stephen Brinton, and he's going to give us a little story about the use of voice as a teacher, or the abuse,
Abuse.
in his case. So, yeah, just we'll listen to Steve for a bit, and then maybe have a discussion after. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now, this came up from a comment this morning when Jim said that a question had been raised or concern had been raised about voice and use of voice. And I had the experience in my early teaching with voice. So I've been teaching 3 years in the public sector and was in a second school. He does it, but anyway, in my second school, I was in a open plan teaching area and against a much more experienced teacher. And open plan, it means that you basically have 60 students within the one large classroom area, no divisions. And the idea is that you team teach. So she would teach a part and I would teach a part. And it was very innovative. And then it went out of vogue and now it's coming back. So if you get into that situation, run a mile.
Well, hang on.
All right.
That's biasing the people.
Overstating the case.
No.
My experience in that.
Keep to the question.
Actually, my son teaches in that situation, so it's okay. For maths, we split into maths groups. She had her maths half room on one end, and I had the other half down the other end. She spoke, though, at, I don't know, 10 decibels, to her students right here, blasting out. And I couldn't compete in terms of my voice against hers and make my group of 30 students heard. So I moved them into the withdrawal room because these open plan areas all had a withdrawal room, which was half the size of the classroom. It would sort of be this area. And I teach my class there. And I had my voice was failing, and I went to a speech specialist and was given exercises to try to strengthen my voice. And what she pointed out is that tension was causing me to tense my voice and my throat, my neck.
And you had a sore throat?
No, it wasn't a sore throat. It was just that, how people react to tension, get tension headaches, their shoulders get stiff, my neck got stiff, and it impinged on my throat and my vocal cords. And so she was giving me exercises to relax and to promote voice care. Anyway, long story short is that at the end of that year, or partway through that year, my principal in a public school, was a Christian guy, suggested that I might do a teacher librarian course, thinking that teacher librarians don't use their voice very much, it'd be quieter. And so I did that course and became a teacher librarian. And most of my teaching career has been as a teacher librarian.
Most?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of it has. I sort of have, in my career, have defaulted to libraries. So probably be about 50-50. Libraries aren't quiet places, by the way, and I was still using my voice and reading and engaging with students all day in a busy library, which is what I ended up having. I was using my voice as much. But anyway, the story is, you need to look after your voice.
Yeah.
You certainly shouldn't be shouting at your kids, but you should learn how to control your voice. And if you have concerns, probably see about it early than later. if I've been lecturing all day, say in an intensive, I feel it in my voice. And they're generally smaller groups and well behaved.
Generally, it depends.
I know.
Really.
You did tell me about Victorian. I wasn't supposed to say that.
No. One of the things I want to mention is that I've been observing students teach in class, and obviously I see them in the B, the middle one, which is the minor, and also the major. And it's been fascinating to me to watch or hear the difference in the voice between the minor and the major. And I've written on people's notes, they found their voice. And you can almost, it's not necessarily volume, it's just, it's really hard to describe. It's like it's confidence, pace, tone, are more important, I think, than the actual volume. And arguably, I think the student who's found, in inverted commas, found their voice may well actually be quieter. And I've known some teachers use their quiet voice to get attention rather than the yelling.
You might, when you go out and observe schools, you'll probably find that your teachers in the lower grades use their voice very well, and it's very often the quiet voice that gets the kindergarten and year one children quiet. You're not competing over them, because you won't. But yes, I've known some brilliant lower primary teachers, and they don't raise their voice. They just put structures in place, and there's an expectation, but just a quiet authority by that teacher.
So what do you say to newbie teachers, Steve, in terms of how to use their voice? Any tips and tricks? Effective use of voice in a classroom?
I think it all comes down, and it's all part of classroom control. So if you've got if you're well prepared, and if you've got an interesting lesson, then that is first base. You have then the students engaged, and then you're not having to talk above them in terms of classroom management, because the class is managed from what you are doing, not what you're saying. Then you don't have to raise your voice, you don't have to speak above students talking. You put in expectations that if you're talking, and you are careful in the way you use your voice. You take note of whether your voice is getting tense or whether you're speaking at the back of your throat or whatever it is.
How do you, I was going to ask you about that, how do you determine where you're speaking from? I don't think about it.
No.
Do you?
I don't generally, but I am aware that there's a tightness in my voice at the moment.
Because you're on video?
Yeah, probably because of the situation.
Is that right?
I don't feel quite relaxed.
And does that? And so you're aware of the slight tension?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got to be careful about that. And so in the classroom, as teachers, certainly in the early year professional placements, you may not feel this, but you really need to be relaxed. And I haven't engaged with you. I felt more relaxed around the lunch table because who's chatting.
Yeah.
Suddenly this is a lesson. So
noise is off.
Yes. So, but yeah, I think generally seek to be relaxed in the classroom, and you're relaxed in the classroom if you are prepared, if you know the situation, know the students, know your work. It's all the APSTs again, isn't it, Jim?
It is.
Know how students learn, know your content, all that sort of stuff.
Victoria was teaching autistic kids earlier this year, and you were talking about your voice.
Yeah, so kids who have autism, they're not very attentive to the changes in your voice. So I feel like normal students, if you're getting frustrated, they can be like, oh, just getting frustrated, you need to stop. But kids with autism, they can't really take the perspective of someone else. So if you're getting frustrated at them, they don't really get that you're getting frustrated. And so I had to, like, actually someone pulled me aside one time and was like, I've noticed that your voice is actually reflecting a lot of frustration. And I'm like, yeah, because I have all these things to do and they're not cooperating with me. And she's like, you just have to be really mindful of your voice, and when they're doing behaviors that are, irritating you, just have to like take a deep breath and just focus on being calm, and kind of like it would get to situations where I'm helping a child like wash their hands after going to the bathroom or something, and they're getting distracted by everything else in the bathroom, and I would literally just have to focus on the fact that, oh my goodness, like they just turned the tap on by themselves, like let's congratulate that, and then make sure I in your voice. So yeah, just being really mindful of your voice.
Yeah. Thinking of voice, just listening to you then, struck me that often with new teachers, they can be using language that isn't appropriate for their age group. I found, obviously, adults talking to, I think, kindy or year 1 and 2, they won't know that word, and you don't know that they don't know that word, and you're going to lose them. And even high school, you've got to be very conscious of what vocabulary they've already got, and whether you can use that language. Yeah. Joanne, have you got any questions or comments about the use of voice?
No.
No?
No. I think it's all interesting. I'm all learning.
Oh, good.
All ears.
Good. Anyone else got any comments, questions?
What I want to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like the power of voice of a teacher in a classroom is like one of the very, very important things. If you shout at kids, you just come one step down in front of kids. Shouting never works in a classroom.
Yeah.
Instead of shouting, I think if the kids are really like undisciplined, shouting will never work. You have to be more frank with them. Like if everyone is going around, no one is listening to you, be quiet. Just oppose it to them, and they will certainly notice you are looking at them quiet, and they will also pay their attention towards them. And other thing, like handling a very big class, we had like one of our teacher, the chemistry teacher, and he said like he used to teach classes nearly of 70, 80, 100 students, and doctor had to remove his like voice box, and he put an artificial voice box because of it. And yeah, even I have noticed when I was like doing my internship, they used to be like when you go to the government school, there used to be like lots of them, 50, 60, 70, 80. Then you have to use like speak quite high, and you feel all those tensions in your neck.
You do.
But what is like more important, a big class is a different thing, and managing a class in your own voice is a different thing, because no matter if the class like is very big or small, as a teacher you have to use a language which is like really controlling, not a shouting one or not a pampering one. If you like use a pampering language, kids will never listen to you. And if you use a shouting language, even of that, it's like I have feel like that. Like student develops a feeling that this teacher is not capable of handling them.
That's right.
Why they are shouting.
That's right. Yeah. Just listening to your story just then reminds me of when I was teaching in England. I was most conscious of it then. After a holiday, I don't know whether you noticed this, but in the first week or so after going back, it was sore. Not a sore throat, as in a bug, but it was. I was conscious that I hadn't got my voice back yet, and it took a week or so of each term. So newbie teachers obviously be aware of that and look after that. And another little story I'll tell you is that sometimes my wife says, "I'm not one of your pupils," and she tends to hear the teacher in me sometimes. And I know you're not. I know you're not one of my pupils, and I just can't help myself. And I don't know whether you go to social settings, but often you can pick a teacher, and maybe what they say, the way they say it, and potentially their voice. Okay. Oh, and another little story. What church are you going to, Colleen?
It's not church sermon,
Sutherland Shire. Okay. Have you heard of a fellow called Robert Ferguson, preacher, Hillsong?
Yeah.
Well, about 18 months ago, he wasn't allowed to speak for about a year, I think. Where I think he had an operation on his vocal cords, and he's been preaching for 40 years, and eventually he had to have an operation, in which case he couldn't even speak to his wife at home. He had to be silent for ages and ages and ages, writing notes and things. And what's his name? Joel Houston, Brian's eldest son, who's in New York, singer, and he had a voice operation as well. So the message is, look after your voice. Don't abuse it.
I'm kind of like I sugar where I'm not loud enough. And then like maybe how do you kind of continue like have that like I feel like I have that voice, but then maybe like throughout the day maybe it'll start to fade. I don't want to be talking only to the students and the phone and lose the kids just because of how do you.
I was thinking about the quiet voice, and I was thinking about where you stand or sit in a classroom. Because and I suppose subconsciously, I don't know whether you've thought about this, Steve, but I've seen some teachers on track who are in the most ridiculous location in the classroom, and they try to talk to the whole class. And they're not conscious of, well, there's a wall, which is a sounding board, and if I was in this position, my sound would have carried a lot better. I often think about that when I'm out. Oh, and that was my worst experience, taking a field trip and trying to address 40 people in the open air. And it reminded me a bit of what Jesus would do, get into a boat and go out onto the water and use the water as a sounding board, or use a cliff. And so often I would find myself climbing up a cliff, and the kids would think, "What? That's it." And I would say, "Come on down to the foot of the cliff, and we're going to talk about this rock." So I'm in a brilliant position to be able to speak to 40 people without having to yell. But no, I'm very conscious that you've got to position yourself, and that's why I was trying to draw out of Steve how to get the voice. And I'm bad at this, so I'm probably not the best. How to get the voice coming out of the front of the mouth and not back.
I'm thinking back to what I was told. It relates to having lungs full and speaking with the diaphragm pushing up. So in singing, it's diaphragmatic breathing.
Oh.
So I would consciously sort of not slouch, but sit myself up.
Yeah.
Or position myself, stand erect. And sort of when I start to address, my lungs are always half full. And it's that is helping to push the words out from the front.
Yes.
As compared to slouch back, head back, or whatever.
Yeah.
So you've got to, I've heard this from singers, you've got to imagine your voice coming out from the top of your head. So if you're softly spoken, it means a deliberateness about speaking, prepared for it, knowing what you're going to say, and recognizing that you're addressing a larger group. So you are on performance. Or, have we talked about this?
No, go for it. Performance.
All teachers are performers.
Yes.
And it's not because you want to hold the floor, it's because to sell your message,
yeah,
you have to be animated and enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
And so positioning yourself in class is important, as Jim was saying. And in some ways, owning the class so that you're seen as, you have a presence in the class.
Yes.
Now, I'm very mindful of, I haven't seen many on professional placement, but I have seen lots of teachers as I've visited schools in different ways.
Yeah.
And some have no presence. So you need to develop a presence in the classroom, which is a quiet authority.
Yeah.
This is my area.
Yeah.
Student wants to come into your class, you acknowledge them.
Yeah.
They're coming into your place, into
Yeah.
your space.
Yeah.
If a teacher comes in, then you need to have expectations, but they're coming into your space and you own that space.
Yeah, you do.
And you have to, you have to work within that space with a confidence. I respect Jim's class and I'm coming into his space. Right? That's just a courtesy.
Thank you.
Old school. But in that sense, yes, he owns his space and has a quiet confidence in managing you. Other teachers have that. And if they don't, then the class can start to manage them. So how you position yourself, where you position the students, is all related to management. And when you're speaking to them, you recognize that, okay, I'm on show. For this next session, morning tea till lunchtime, I'm on show. You will program your lessons so that there are ups and downs and so forth. But you are the focus.
Yeah.
This is contrary to a lot of current thinking, which talks about constructivist teaching or constructivist learning, which means that the children are learner explorers, where they are responsible for their own learning. And so instead of front-facing classrooms where the teacher is the authority, all days, classrooms are set up in groups. But what does that encourage, and what do you want to see what's happening when students are in groups? What do you want to see happen? You want to see it working together, interaction. Okay? So the focus then comes off you. So in a classroom situation like that, although it's in vogue and in many ways right, you want to give children ownership of what they're learning, you still have to manage a classroom like that and be the one who they respect and recognize as your space.
And how does the phrase "eyes on me," something, the little jingle that some...
1, 2, 3 eyes.
Yes, now that's a primary school thing. But if they're all in groups inward, then you can't effectively talk to the whole group because they're not eyes on you, at the back of the head. So, one of my rules would be, principles, was that if you're going to be talking, then you've got to see their faces. So, turn around for that bit of the lesson. Or don't do any whole class discussion while they're in groups. Bring them to the front or something.
And primary teachers can do that really well because children are often sitting on the floor in front of you.
Sure.
And I would do that even with upper primary. So if you're in a placement with upper primary, then work out what the teacher's expectations are. But I would have children sitting at my feet, and if it's an upper primary young girls, maybe they could sit on a seat, but they would come to the front. I would then instruct them in what I wanted them to do, maybe even teach a major part of the lesson, mobile whiteboard or something like that. Give them their instructions and then send them back to their groups to do what I've asked them to do. So you are owning the space. You are making sure that they recognise who you are. You have expectations about how they come in. All those things are part of your presence in the classroom.
Yeah. I think, Colleen, my response to your question, it all boils down to confidence. And when you've got it, you won't be worried about it. And you'll find that your volume goes much further, or your tone will be more effective. And if you're nervous, then it's going to be less effective. So,
have you spoken to the students about the clinical teaching model?
A little,
Yeah.
little, not a lot.
Because I was thinking in terms of,
Yes.
for the students, in terms of developing confidence,
Yes.
I think leapfrogging off what you've just said, if you could find yourself a placement for a clinical teaching, model,
Yeah.
coming, if you found yourself a school that you were able to go to once a week, same class,
Yeah.
that will nurture you as a teacher, so that when you go out on placement,
Yes.
the nerves are dissipated,
Yeah.
and you have much a greater deal of confidence, because that is clinical teaching model puts you in a nurturing, supportive
Yeah.
role,
Yeah.
environment, when the teacher, as a coach teacher, is on your side. They want you to succeed.
Yeah.
In a professional experience placement, it's not that the teacher doesn't want you to succeed, but they are checking off whether you've made reached these outcomes. You are under an assessment situation, which can be enough to create nerves. You know? And Jim would say that he's seen some good people burst into tears at the end of a placement.
For good and bad reasons. For good and bad reasons. I mean, I've actually finished. Oh, that was
Yeah.
one particular one comes to mind is she'd been teaching for years, an experienced teacher, but on the placement, it was she said her own words, the worst lesson I've ever taught, and I happened to be there and I happened to witness it, and she said, I'm not talking about this. And that's the placement for you. It's such a false setting. Whereas if you're on the clinical teaching model, you'll probably find yourself, without even being asked, you'll be helping the ones and the twos, and then you'll be helping the small groups. And you won't even think about it. Well, why don't you introduce that to the class then? Okay.
And you'll be given upfront responsibilities as your confidence grows, and as your skills grow, and it will come together. So it's something we need to explore.
Absolutely. Any other questions about voice or whatever, looking after our voice? Joanne? Any questions? Just happy? Excellent, thank you. All right then, well, shall we let you go?
I will go.
You've got a meeting, haven't you?
I have a meeting.
Yes. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, Joanne.
And
Nice meeting.
we will see you. I'll see you later. Okay. So, well, that was very useful. That was out of nowhere. And can I suggest that was not planned? I'm not saying the whole of our week should be unplanned. Otherwise, you never get anything done. But it was just a little conversation I was having with Steve this morning, and I thought, we've got Joanne this afternoon. Why not have a little discussion about voice? And so I'm so glad we did. Very, very useful. Now, this afternoon, this machine is apparently not dying, which I'm really pleased about. I would love to talk with us all about the major assignment. So, I think it's the same on yours, Joanne, as it is on ours. I'm just going to minimize you, but you'll still be there. So you will talk to me, won't you? Oh, you cannot minimize when you're recording. Oh, okay, I'll behave myself. Can you find the major assignment on your screens, and we'll keep this active. Now, if you could read it out to me, I can't see it. So give us, Colleen. Yeah.
Education promotes responses to the most profound questions of life, questions of truth and falsehood, of beauty and ugliness, or good and evil. These affirmations may be expressed in what an education fails to do, as well as in what it does and what it rejects, as well as what it adopts. Education may serve any cause. They may serve tyranny as well as freedom, ignorance as well as enlightenment, falsehood as well as truth, war as well as peace, death as well as life. It may lead men and women to think they are free, even as it limits upon them chains of bondage. So part one, academic philosophy of education. This document could include the future applications and referenced in your programming. You should justify your position in literature using appropriate referencing and bibliography, and you should specify the educational context for which your work is being prepared.
Yeah. Okay. Hold it there for a minute. So part one, you've got to do this dynamic personal philosophy. Now, one thing I would say quickly is feel free to use the word I, first person singular. For any of my subjects, never get worried about using the first person singular. I mean, if the whole thing is about I'll tick you off and say, don't be silly, you've got to read some books. You know, it can't be all that. But this particular assignment, the part one, your philosophy, of course it's going to be I. It's yours. And don't write in the third person about what is good about education and what's bad. This is good, this is bad. No, it's yours. It's all yours, okay? You've got to own it. And I would say it's something that you've got to try and express your own motives, the why you want to teach. And that's hard. You know, when I actually say to some people from other unis that in our first subject, the major assignment is you writing your own philosophy of education, they think, what? How can you ask them to do that? Oh, I do. Because to me, if you don't know why you're doing it, well, you won't know how to do it. You've got to have the confidence that what you're doing and the way you're doing it is actually fits with it's at peace with your life. You can't be what you're not, and you can't be a teacher just because there's some theory somewhere that says, oh, you should do it this way, and your heart's not in it. Seriously, you will never do it. Your heart's got to be in what you're doing and why you're doing it. And so I would say a big part of part A is the why. And then the second part of part A is, and this is harder, people find it harder to do this, what's that going to look like on a day-to-day basis? It's all very well you're going to say, well, you're going to love the kids. Okay. What does that mean? How are you going to love the kids? How are you going to demonstrate to them that you care for them and you've got a hope for their future? There's got to be some way of describing what you do Monday to Friday, Monday to Saturday if it's... when I was teaching in England, from 1975 through till probably 1987, we had 6-day school and Saturday mornings. And after that, the kids went off to play sport in Saturday afternoon. But I managed to run a judo club, which didn't happen on Saturdays. So I got Saturday afternoon off. Yay. It was fantastic. But all the other teachers had to go out in the middle of winter and play rugby and things. Or cricket. And the cricket matches would last forever. Ever and ever and ever. And they'd be there at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday night. You know, the sun would still be just about setting in summer. And they'd be on the cricket field.
It's the perfect purpose. Empty.
Oh, dear. Anyway, I digress. So in the second part of that, part one, you got to somehow talk about what you're going to do, how you demonstrate your philosophy during the day. I think it's fine to have a couple maybe of scriptures from a sacred text, whichever is suited to you. I suggest you have maybe a couple of references from key educators. Don't have too many, seriously. If you've got half a page, that's too many. 2 or 3 will be fine for part A. And will you please say somewhere in there that it's got to be you're writing this philosophy for such and such a setting. So obviously secondary, primary, state school, Christian school, city school, rural school, you know, say your context, because, you know, your philosophy is going to be different for wherever you are. Okay?
So we just pick a setting.
Well, one that you imagine, you can easily imagine yourself working in. Yeah. Any other questions about part A? Joanne, you're all right with that?
Yes.
Good. It's a challenge. So the dates, I haven't put the dates up on your Moodle yet, have I?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no. For the major, it's going to be due, and I'll put it up soon. It'll be up on the 5th of November. So you've got a fair bit of time and a lot of thinking. And I really encourage you to talk to other teachers, anybody in your network, in your church, anywhere you can find, grab them and have a chat and ask them, well, describe to me your philosophy of education. And they'll look at you and think, and then try and get them talking and see what they say, okay?
Okay.
Use that as like.
Well, there's the problem,
Yeah,
because it's going to be your philosophy. But it might help you frame your way of thinking.
Give you some thought.
Yeah, get you started. Yeah. No, the idea of chatting to a teacher might be good for the minor assignment, where you've got to, maybe if you find an older person who was at school in the 50s and 60s, that would be good to have a chat to them. And you can quote that. Part 2. How about you reading out part 2 for me, please? Big voice.
Draft your own pedagogical. That's so, I did not pronounce that.
You did.
Ready?
Pedagogical.
Oh, pedagogical. Okay, that's really hard to say. It's like pedagogy and pedagogy.
Yeah. Keep going.
Keep going. Discuss the teaching and learning methodologies, their supporting pedagogy,
It's a terrible question.
assessment and reporting approaches, the importance of keeping accurate and reliable records, behavior management styles, and feedback strategies that you prefer, and explain why you have rejected alternative approaches. Ensure that your arguments are referenced by including a full bibliography.
Thank you. So part 2, as you can see from the mark distribution, is bigger, definitely the longer piece. And this is, I would say, is a classic argumentative essay. You've got to argue why you have approved or like certain approaches, education. I call them educational approaches, right? Yes, fancy language pedagogical approaches. Why you like some, and then on the second half of the essay, why you don't like others. Or you can do them together. You know, you have a paragraph to do with classroom management, for example, and within that paragraph you say why you like certain approaches and why you're rejecting others. And really, they should make sense to and match your philosophy. You don't have to labour the point, but as a reader, I want to be able to sense that, yes, you're actually talking about you. You know, if you say in your philosophy that you really like teacher-centered learning, and then in part 2 you say you can't stand teacher-centered learning, you can't do that. You've got to be consistent, right? So it's and here the reference list is going to be longer, maybe half a page to a page. I'm not telling you how many. It's just that you'll have to have more references for part 2. So imagine you are justifying your giving a case for a particular approach that you like, and giving a case against another approach. So between now and the end of the semester, you've got to watch your, dig into as many learning and teaching approaches this morning here, and hopefully they'll be on echo for you, Joanne. I'm going to put them on the Moodle. If I can do it, fingers crossed. The teaching and learning approaches, learn as much as you can, as many as you can, and then assessment methods. What's a good assessment method? What's a bad assessment method? What about reporting? What's good reporting? What's bad reporting? What's the point of reporting? We're talking about reports on kids to their parents. End of term. I don't mean you're a naughty kid now, I'm going to send you to the headmaster. No, I don't mean that. I mean, the end of term reports. Here's a thought. Let me just throw a controversial one in here for nothing. Some schools would say they don't give marks to the kids. This is not at HSC, but lower down. They would not give marks. They'll basically say that they're satisfactory or they're not. They've reached stage or they haven't. Now, as a parent, I find that highly frustrating, because I'd want to know, well, how well have they reached stage? It's all very well being told, yeah, they're above stage or below stage, or, oh, come on, I want more detail. And so if I was running a school today, whether I would be politically allowed to do it or not, I don't know. But I would love to be able to say, give a mark against history, mark against maths. Now, some schools of thought say you can't do that, that's discriminatory. But the fact of the matter is kids know anyway. So they know who's the best in the class at maths and who's the worst, and they know who needs the help. So that's a point of contention, whether or not you would report grades or not. Okay, that's a point of view. Look, I've just rambled a bit on part 2. Have you got any more questions? It's a very long and wordy question, but literally, when you boil it down, it's what you like and what you don't and why.
So we are so I'm used to writing psychological reports where you look at things and you analyze and compare the methods and why they do that analogy and blah blah blah.
Yes.
But it's like that, but saying why we agree with it based on our own
Philosophy, correct. So that's the other aspect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's an analytical essay. Yeah. First of all, you've obviously got to understand it.
Yeah.
And then you've got to assess it. And then you've got to come to a conclusion.
And we're allowed to use that.
Yes, you are. Of course, because it's your opinion.
Yeah.
Of course. So it's not theoretical in the sense of, reaching a hypothesis or something. No, it's your personal preference. Sure. You know, after all this yakking, my voice is going. Yeah, talk about voice. I've used it too much. I should have another drink of water. Any other questions? Have you got any questions about part 2, Joanne?
No.
You happy with that?
Yep. I think
Fantastic. Now, have you done the posts yet on Bear and?
I've read Bear, but I haven't done my post yet.
Okay, when are you going to do your post?
Hopefully tonight.
Fantastic. Okay, that'll be good. All right. Any questions for Joanne? Any comments? Any last comments? We're okay? Cool. Thank you very much for being with us, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.